The first one we kind of wanted to get into, and this is a sore subject for a lot of Browns fans, and it hurts me. It might not be as sore of a subject for me because I understood the moves and whatnot, and I was for the moves at the time when they happened, but it definitely hurts because our season's not going as well as we thought it would. But it's just to kind of talk a little bit about how we're struggling so much and kind of some key guys that a lot of people wanted to be back on the Browns that we didn't bring back are now having success this season. And we're obviously talking about Joe Flacco and Kareem Hunt. And just to kind of touch on this, that was extra cruel. Joe Flacco goes out, throws for over 300 yards. Kareem Hunt then plays on Monday night and has over 100 yards and a touchdown. And then in a different sport, Francisco Lindor hits, I think it was a grand slam or at least a big home run to give the Mets a lead. And it was like, it's like God is laughing in Cleveland Browns and Cleveland fans in general's face right now. So it's been a tough day for Browns fans. What do you think, Kenny, when you're watching Joe Flacco go out there, he's the last Browns quarterback to throw for over 300, and he just said he'd get in a Colts uniform?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one. I mean, the way the season went last year, the expectations are super high. And if it wasn't for Joe Flacco, maybe we wouldn't have these high expectations. And the thing is when you're a Browns fan and you're taking a look at what we got now versus what we thought was going to be, it's happening in Indianapolis. He's actually having a chance to play. It looks like he's just kind of started off where he left off last year. It's a different offense. However, the biggest thing is that, what have we always griped about so far this season? Deshaun just ripped the ball. This dude rips it, man. And I was complaining on yesterday's episode. You have a swing pass out to the flats. You got to hit the guy in stride. You can't throw a rainbow up in the air. You can't expect the guy to do anything because guys are just coming down, 1-2 tacklers, sitting his butt down just on swing passes. Like, it seems like such a hard thing. And Joe Flacco has no problem with it. Now, I mean, really, what is he, 1-1 right now? And we're 1-4 right now. So he's only got one win, but still, it looks way better. Like, our offense is so anemic. Like, we just want anything to cheer for. And it's great to see what he's doing, And I don't think it's really much. It wouldn't spend much more than we spent on Winston, right?
No, I can't imagine you would have. Honestly, you might have spent less because I think Winston got like a $10 million deal to be the backup quarterback. Maybe it wasn't that much. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head.
I'll get the numbers while you're talking.
So I obviously, it hurts to see Kareem Hunt or Joe Flacco, we'll get to Kareem Hunt, go out and have a great game while Deshaun is struggling. It's the biggest thing for me when I think about it isn't necessarily the fact that, we could have Joe Flacco and look how much better our offense could be doing. When I think about it, I just think we could have Jameis Winston playing and look how much better our offense would be looking. So I'm not necessarily, I would obviously, like, I enjoyed when Joe Flacco was here and he played well, but I think Jameis Winston could do a lot of what Joe Flacco did last year. He's more mobile. He's a gunslinger, by nature. Like, he's thrown for 5,000 yards. So I don't think it's necessary. I don't necessarily think it's a Joe Flacco thing for me, as it is just that our quarterback's not playing well, and I think we have a quarterback on the roster who would be playing better than who we have starting right now. So good for Joe Flacco. He went to another great situation in terms of he's got playmakers around him and a brilliant offensive head coach who can get the most out of him. I did see, though, he's going back to the bench this week. I think Anthony Richardson is planning to start. So, but for me, obviously, I would love to have Joe doing what he just did for the Colts for the Browns. My argument in why I don't have like buyer's remorse on Joe Flacco is because I think Jameis Winston could do a lot of what Joe Flacco did last year for this team. First of all, he's the guy who pumps up the guys before the game. So a big thing about Joe Flacco is it seemed like guys liked him and they wanted to play for him and they kind of rallied around him. I think the guys would do the same thing for Jameis Winston. Everybody on the team has nothing but great things to say about Jameis Winston. And honestly, everywhere he's played, people love Jameis Winston. So I think you could get a lot of what Joe Flacco gave you last year and what he would be giving you this year in Jameis Winston if we would just make the move to him. So I don't necessarily have remorse in terms of Joe Flacco. For me, it's just more of like we need to just make the switch to Jameis, and we wouldn't be having that buyer's remorse on Joe Flacco. At least that's the way I feel about it. Jameis could come in and be awful, then I would be having, I'd be daydreaming about Joe Flacco. But until I see Jameis come in, I'm just like, can we just give Jameis a shot? Because I think he gives you a lot of what Joe Flacco gives you.
Yeah, so I think what it is maybe you're a young dog and I'm an old dog. You know what? You know what the biggest thing is? It's guys like me that I'll be 50 next year, and I think it's reminiscent of Bernie Kosar and the way he slung it, because Bernie couldn't run, but Bernie could throw. He could read a defense, and he could get the guys pumped up. But Bernie wasn't always a rah-rah guy either, and I think that's where that reminiscent and that connection to the late 1980s team is where that came from. As far as him still being on the team, I get it. It wasn't realistic. They went younger. Jameis is the unknown. I even wrote that in my notes, that we just don't know. We haven't seen what Winston can do. All I know in Winston is there's a W, there's an I, and there's an N. So put him in the damn game. I do have the cap numbers for you. It was, I think, a difference of like $500,000. One was $5 million, one was $4.5 million. So we really couldn't have it. But can you imagine? I'll say crap storm. Do you imagine the crap storm that would happen if Joe Flacco was on this team right now? I think Cleveland Stadium be burnt down. Sorry, Huntington Bank Stadium would be burnt down by now.
That's one of those things where we're already there. We haven't even seen Jameis Winston play for this team except for a little bit in the preseason, and people are clamoring for him. I know Deshaun said in his press conference this week that he doesn't hear the people calling for his job. He doesn't hear it. He doesn't see it. Throw an incomplete pass against the Bengals at home. You're going to hear it. You're going to know. It's already... I have a feeling if they do introductions for that Bengals game and they do the offensive players, he might get booed running out of the tunnel. So
yeah. Hey, listen, they booed Baker Mayfield when he couldn't throw a ball, like I said yesterday. So they ain't going to hold back for him.
Yeah. So Kenny would like to see Joe Flacco. I wouldn't argue about seeing Joe Flacco, but me personally, it's less about what Joe Flacco is doing and more about I want to see what Jameis Winston can do. Because I think he gives you. They're kind of a lot of the same player at this point in their career, at least from my understanding. Like Joe Flacco last year, no fear. He's just slinging it. And the throws that he was connecting on that were crazy explosive plays, if you watched them, they were almost interceptions by like this much. And he went to the well too many times sometimes. And he threw a ton of picks. I mean, that's what Jameis is going to give you. Had a 30-30 season and doing the same kind of stuff. So let's just make the switch, please. I guess see how the game on Sunday goes, but if it's more of the same, just make the switch for the love of God, please.
Like his last extended experience was in 2021. He was 5-2 as a starter. He was 59% completion with 1,100 and 70 yards, 14 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. I'm good with that. Put him in. Let's do it.
Yeah, I mean the completion percentage isn't great, but it seemed like it was with Sean Payton. I'm pretty sure. The picks weren't an issue. I mean, 14-3 is pretty freaking good. So it seems like getting the LASIK helped. I guess then we can kind of talk.
Yeah, 100%.
Kareem Hunt obviously had great years here in Cleveland. The Chunt, everybody loved Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. Yeah. They were bros. We brought him back by circumstance last year, and he was kind of like our pound it inside, in between the tackles kind of running back. Had a ton of touchdowns, not necessarily great efficiency. Didn't bring him back this year because and I knew we weren't going to bring him back because I thought he looked slow last year, and I just figured like we weren't going to bring him back again because we were going to go with Ford, and then I liked the signing Deontay Foreman at the time, and Hines was supposed to be here.
Yeah.
And you didn't, so I thought he'd be playing by now. Now he came out and he had 100 yards in a touchdown in that Chiefs game. He had 27 carries, 3.8 yards a carry. I mean, he had a Deontay Foreman game like for us. The difference was instead of getting 8 carries, he got 27 carries. You know what I mean? So I know like Kareem Hunt.
When's the last time one of our backs got 27 carries?
It's been a very long time. And so I don't have as much buyers or more, like I don't think that if Kareem Hunt was in Cleveland right now, he would get the ball 27 times and score a touchdown. And I just don't think that would be happening. I think he'd be Deontay Foreman on our team this year. You know what I mean? Every other game he'd get 10 carries, and then the next game you'd wonder where he was and get 2. And he wouldn't have the chance to just like grind out 27 carries and get a goal line touchdown score. So I'm more happy for Kareem to get to go back to Kansas City and get to get another season in his belt, maybe get a ring this year, because clearly the Browns aren't in contention for that. So I don't have as much hate in that. Because again, the Browns also were not the only team. Kareem Hunt was sitting on his couch for a reason. So
yeah,
I don't have as much. I'm more happy for Kareem than I am mad at the Browns, because I think if Kareem was on the Browns, he would just be Deontay Foreman this year. That's kind of the way I look at it.
I actually responded to this on social, and while you're talking, the reason I'm looking down is because I'm trying to find my response. But ultimately what I said is the Browns basically went younger, they went faster, they went bigger into Foreman, because he's actually 233 pounds. Kareem Hunt's 216, he's 5'11", he is what he is. He's a hard-nosed runner. And he's gonna, if you have a big hole, he's gonna get you 3 yards. You have a small hole, he's gonna get you 2.5. Like, that's just the way he is at this point right now, right? The only thing is when you are in the red zone, he's gonna get you a touchdown. Man, that guy can spell the end zone, and he wants to be in there. The other thing that we're missing is his pass block presence, and we're missing his how can I call it? Jarvis Landry-like locker room presence, because I think the team was more geared up when he was there. And with the guys that they have on the roster right now, who is the guy in the offensive side that's getting everybody excited? It's not Joel Bitonio. It's not Wyatt Teller. It's not any one of the offensive tackles. So who is it? Like, who's the guy? Is it Amari? Is it Chubb? They're all the same dude. You need some guys with some passion. I just don't see it, but Kareem did. So where I miss him and what I think they should have done, I don't need Pierre Strong on the team. No offense, Pierre. I just like Kareem better. I like his pass blocking better, and I want him out and swing passes and a third down back. That's what I wanted. But I do agree with you, and I said in it, while we didn't have space for him, Kareem Hunt found the best situation for him. And once they get their running back in Kansas City back, he's going to be relegated to a different role. Maybe even find him back on the practice squad, and maybe we can get him. Like, I don't know, right? But he's in the best situation now, and like you said, I hope he gets a ring or something.
Yep, I'm happy for Kareem. I agree. We kind of touched on this on our episode. I don't see much leadership on the offensive side of the ball for the Browns. And
no,
like Amari Cooper's kind of like a lead, he leads by example, but he's not a big talker. He's not a rah-rah guy. And as much as important as like leading by example is, you do need, kind of a vocal leader out there, kind of guys to right the ship. And I don't know if we have anybody out there. And a lot of people want to see Kevin getting all hoorah, and he wants to call people out in press conferences and say something else. And my point was, if your coach has to be that, you're not going to be. Your team is in trouble. You're not going to be a good football team. You need to be team led. I saw an old interview with I forget who it was, and he played for the Browns under Kevin, and they asked him about Kevin. He said, "Kevin's Kevin. He expects things from us, but he tells us what to do, but he wants us as players to get things right and to handle things and take care of things." And his quote was, "Good teams are coach-led, great teams are player-led." So, that's my point. If your coach has to be your biggest focal leader and your biggest cheerleader and the guy who's getting you pumped up and all, you're going to be in trouble. That means you don't have any leadership out there on the field, in between the lines where it matters. So I think in your point, Kareem would have been great for that. He would have been good to kind of rally the troops on the offensive side of the ball.